Welcome to the Certified Protection Professional tutorial. Today I will be sharing with you Domain 1, Security Principles and Practices. Specifically, I will cover the Security Risk Assessment. There are a total of 7 domains in the Certified Protection Professional body of knowledge. They are Security Principles and Practices, Business Principles and Practices, Investigations, Personnel Security, Physical Security, Information Security, and Crisis Management. Out of these 7 domains, 5 of them requires an understanding and applications of security risk assessment. For example, in the personnel security, where executive protection is one of the tasks, the security professional is required to perform an appropriate risk assessment to understand the threats to the principal or the client and the vulnerabilities in order to develop an appropriate executive protection plan which is effective to protect the principals. Hence, based on this, it is important to understand the security risk assessment. There are many different types of risk assessment concepts and methods. Here are the 3 methods which you should take note of. First, the Risk Assessment Standard, which was developed by ASIS, ANSYS, American National Standard Institute, RIMS, Risk and Insurance Management Society. The second one is the ISO 31000 Risk Management Standards. And lastly, the General Security Risk Assessment, which was developed by ASIS back in 2003. The General Security Risk Assessment Guideline is one of the reference material for the CPP exam. A copy of the guideline can be downloaded from the ASIS website for free if you are a member. If not, you can still purchase a copy from the website at a nominal fee. The guideline contains 26 pages, and if you are looking for a good and simple risk assessment, I recommend you to look at this guideline. The guideline provides a 7-step model for risk assessment. Let's take a look at what are the 7 steps. In the first step, it is to identify the assets. Assets are generally classified into people, properties, and informations, and they can be tangible and intangible. Once the assets has been identified, we move on to the second step. The second step is to identify the loss events and the vulnerabilities. This includes the risks and threats to the identified assets. And the risk events can be determined using a vulnerability assessment. Once this is done, we move on to the third step. The third step is to identify the likelihood of the events occurring. This can be determined based on the historical statistics from the organizations or from the third-party reports or from the authorities. In the fourth step is to determine the impact to the organization if the event is to occur. Normally, this can be measured by the financial loss, but it can also be measured by downtime and reputations. Based on the first 4 steps, the security professional should be able to prioritize the list of risk events which requires mitigations. And the 5th step is to identify what are the various strategies to mitigate the identified risk. Generally, there are a few strategies which include like mitigations, avoidance, transfer, and acceptance. In the 6 steps, we'll delve further into the various mitigation strategies to identify which is the most feasible. And this can be influenced by factors like the cost of the implementations and impact to the operations. And the 7th and the final step is to develop a cost-benefit analysis. This is the comparison of the costs versus the benefits of implementing the security measures to mitigate the risk event. Obviously, the value of the benefits should be higher than the cost in order to get the management approval. Let's take an example. Let's take a look at the applications of the 7-step model using a executive protection example. Now, in the executive protections, the first step, we identified the assets. The assets is the clients, or we call them the principals. It could be a millionaire or a billionaire. So the loss events potentially could be kidnapping. And the frequency of events, so based on the historical data of the country, say it could be 1 to 5 incidents per year. So we can really have say occasional. And the impact of the events, yes, if it does occur, then there could be a possible loss of life. The principal could lose his life, or there could be loss of money due to the ransom. And what are options to mitigate? So we can apply the mitigations, the avoidance, the transfer, and the acceptance. So what are the feasibility of these options? Look at the mitigations. The principal can engage the service of the executive protection, who will escort him, protect him while he's out on business trips, or even deploy the executive protections at his residence to provide protections to him and his family. And avoidance, this can be done by avoiding high-risk events, and this can be based on advice by the executive protection team to avoid places where he could be at risk to all these risk events. In terms of transfer, he can buy insurance. So if the event does occur, if there's a loss of life or when there's a ransom being paid, the insurance may be able to cover it, but obviously the premium may be very high. And acceptance, in this case, of course, is not acceptable. The principal will not want to be exposed to the risk of being kidnapped. So the last step, cost-benefit analysis. The cost of life is immeasurable. So this is a simple way to look at any implementations for a millionaire or billionaire. The amount of money that is paid to the executive protection team, the cost is likely to be lesser than the cost of life for the principal. So this is an example of an executive protections risk assessments which we can use. And risk assessment can be used in many other situations. In conclusion, the security risk assessment is important. It forms the foundations of many of the security programs, and it justifies the investment. Risk principles is applicable in various security domains, which includes physical security, information security, personnel security. And understanding risk principles through applications in situations will help you to understand the concepts better. Finally, if you like to find out more about the CPP review program, please visit www.security40.com, and you can also subscribe to the Security 4.0 e-learning channel, the YouTube channel, to view more videos like this. Thank you, and I see you soon.